Alrighty, here it is. So this is going to be a review for the open mold wheels coming from China. And this is from the Xiamen region, which has a lot of carbon fiber manufacturing over there. And overall, they've been doing a pretty good job. There's a lot of good companies out in that region that make a lot of good stuff, I have to say. And we all know the big ones like Light Bicycle, Far Sports, ICANN, there's Carbonol, a couple others, that I might be missing. Overall, this is from none of those, brands. It's from a brand that you'd see more like Princess Bike on eBay or Super Team or something like that. It's not from any of those. I'm not going to disclose the name because this is going to be a sample, and I got it for a pretty good price. But you can see the price on eBay, if you're curious to see what something like this is for. But this is open mold, so meaning like any manufacturer could pretty much make this. And this is based off the Kurima 4-spoke, I believe. It looks very similar to it. I mean, almost identical. It's just probably not as good quality, let's be honest. But in terms of the Aero characteristics, I bet you it's pretty much the same. When I say quality, I don't say in terms of, well, it's like not laid up properly. In terms of the way the carbon's laid up, it actually looks pretty good. In fact, I don't think it's going to blow up, as some people fear, which is, I guess, possible, but unlikely. The main thing is like voids in the layup, stuff like that, where the resin doesn't fully cure throughout the whole mold and you have a bit of an air pocket or something like that. That's the main concern. And the finish. The finish is a big thing. A company is going to spend a lot of time on their finish if they care about their product because they want to have something that looks very presentable as well as functions very well too. Where something like this doesn't have 100% good quality finish, and I'll be showing you those details soon. In terms of weight, I took this on the scale. It weighs 1070 grams, which is not bad for a 4-spoke wheel. Now, I'm actually okay with a little bit more weight because maybe they use a little bit more carbon fiber and maybe a little bit, different layup to, maybe make it a little bit stronger and safer. Maybe, I don't know. I'm just being optimistic, of course. In terms of the carbon fiber they use, they specify they use a Toray T700 with a T800 blend. Now, there's two different types of fibers. I believe one's more brittle than the other, and they didn't really say exactly where they put one or the other, but they said they use a blend. So I'm guessing it's not, where the tire meets the wheel. That's maybe a different material than where the spokes are, for example, stuff like that. In terms of depth, this is, I believe, 55 millimeters right here. And the thickness is about 60-ish, 65 right here. I'm not going to bust up my calipers for that, but it's about approximate. It has the valve stem hole right in the middle of the spoke here, as you can see. And in terms of how it's drilled, well, it's not perfectly on center. Now, it appears that's an Aero characteristic because it kind of matches the bladed profile, of course. This shape actually has a bit of an Aero shape to it. In fact, you can barely see it, but it's not quite symmetric. So, yeah, I hope I'm getting that camera there. In fact, let's bring the camera over and I'll give you the details on what I'm seeing here. Alright. So in terms of carbon layup, let's look at the carbon layup. So overall, the joints look pretty good, I have to say. They don't look too weird. I've seen much worse. You can see the finish there, especially on the edge of that spoke there. You see there's a little bit of bubbling there. And that looks like just trash inside of the carbon fiber, or I'm sorry, not the carbon fiber, the clear coat, or whatever they use to coat this thing. It looks like they just, here's a masking issue, right? They obviously didn't do a good job masking there, so a little bit, it kind of bled over on the braking surface. Let's kind of go down here. Overall, you can't see too much. A little bit of dust particles, I guess, that were caught in the paint. So they obviously don't have a super nice painting booth, let's be real here. It looks more like a garage job, I'm going to be honest. In terms of masking here, you can see there's a little bit of masking issues there where it looks like when they peeled off the masking from the hub, there is a bit of a, it's just not a perfect, smooth, kind of a line there. You can see that there. See that how it got bled over? Which is fine. Here's the other side. Basically the same story. Here's actually the worst of the defects, is right there. It looks like they just completely ruined their masking tape and it touched their finish. I mean, when you're making these things fast, I guess, it's just what's going to happen when you're paying this kind of money. Okay. But overall, finish isn't the big deal. It's whether this thing was constructed properly, and that's what we care about. In terms of the hub, this is a Novatech hub, aluminum Novatech hub. I took it apart just to show you what you're buying here. So this is going to be a track hub. That's going to be going, or track axle, and you can see in there, It's not even greased. So I don't know if you're normally supposed to grease these things. These are sealed bearings, but I feel like you should. Just to prevent any creaking or anything like that when these things are under load. So they're non-lubricated. I don't know. When I put this back together, I'm going to personally add a lubricant in there. In terms of the bearings, let me show you that. Standard bearing that you see on a Novatech, you know, Formula Hub or anything like that. Standard size, nothing fancy or that. Let's go into the axle. So here's the axle here. The machine work's actually very, very nice. Novatech hubs are actually, in my opinion, pretty good quality. It's a hollow axle, as you can see there. And overall, it's really nice. The bearing fits in there perfectly, which is good. In terms of the spacers, this is a front wheel, so it has a spacer to make a 100mm spacing. And it has a nice step here for the inner race of the bearing, which is good. And here's the track nuts. There's nothing fancy about these Novatech track nuts. Pretty typical. Let's see, is there anything else I'm missing here? In terms of rim tape, they do come with rim tape. So you will get that. As you can see there, these are tubeless as well, which is cool. In terms of PSI, now, I think the max rating is 120 PSI, which is very, very low. I don't recommend that in general. I'd like to run 140, 160 to be honest, because especially this is a track wheel, I suppose. But you know, it is what it is, right? You're gonna get what you get. So 120 max PSI on this thing, which is fine. It's for road use. I believe that's enough. Let's see what else. Yeah, that's about it. It comes with valve extenders. That's the one thing if you care about that. You don't need it if you run a proper, tube setup. And here you can see the drilling of the hole there. See, it's not quite centered, so okay, not bad. So overall, I gotta be honest, it was lighter than I thought. I gotta be honest with you. And some may say, hey, you're risking your life getting this thing. Yeah, I might be. I definitely might be, because this is, one of these open mold designs. But that's why I got the 4-spoke, actually, because this is going to be the same construction as the 3-spoke and the 5 spokes, which are a little more rare, but mainly the 3 spokes. Basically, if there's a failure here, if it fails right here, for example, there'll be more spokes basically distribute that weight before the thing completely goes. Now, carbon fiber doesn't just explode randomly. It does crack and fracture, and because it's so brittle that if you keep riding on that same spot, it's going to eventually degrade really, really quickly. That's the only negative of this. So, anyway, yeah, that's it. So, I'm going to go ahead and install the hub, and I'm going to reset and press it all in right now, and then I'm going to ride it. I'm going to put it on my track bike. I'll put a front brake and my single speed handlebars on my track bike, and we'll take this thing on the road and see how it is. And I'll also put a tire on there to basically show you how easy it is, because sometimes these carbon fiber wheels are really hard to put tires on, which is a really negative thing. So alright, I'll be back and see you soon. Alrighty, so we went ahead and put the axle on, as you can see there. Now, one thing I want to say is that, you know what? This axle is actually loose. They didn't press in the bearings all the way, which is really bad. But now that I did it properly, it's flawless. So that's one thing also. I'm really disappointed in that. They didn't press in the bearing all the way. There's a little bit of play, which is really detrimental to the bearing and the inner race of this thing. So, but now that I did it properly, we're good to go. Yeah, so always check that. Make sure your bearings are pressed in all the way, and make sure that these spacers are fully seated and everything like that, because your bearings will get destroyed, unfortunately. So next test, we'll be putting a tire on this thing. So yeah, the tire we'll be putting on is just a 23C gator skin. Everyone knows what a gator skin is, I hope. The gator skin hard shell, the most common tire. This is 23mm, nothing fancy. I'm going to try this and see how it goes on, because this is a clincher, of course. So in terms of direction, this is the leading edge right here. So it's going to spin this way like this. So yeah, spinning this way, so you want your tread to face the right way as well. Okay, so let's see how hard it is to put on just one bead, okay? I didn't try this before, so this is going to be the first time trying this. Yeah, right away I can feel that it's getting tight. It's going to be hard to do. Yeah, so you see that? It's tough. You can see how I'm going to need a tool to snap this into place. Could be a bad thing or a good thing, but I have Dura-Ace wheels that aren't this hard, I have to say. And so that makes me really nervous, because, well, you can mess up the carbon finish, using a tool. Yeah, that's really disappointing. I'm gonna have to get a different tool. Usually this is all I need usually for most of my high quality wheel sets. And like I said, Durace, and I don't even have to use the tool. This one, the tool looks like it's required. Very unfortunate. Alright, well I'm gonna pause the video and go get the right tool and snap it on. Alrighty, so yeah, I went ahead and actually just used a tool, the park tool that I have. I usually use my pager, but I couldn't find it, so oh well. But basically I just kind of gave it a nice tug on the single bead and just kind of folded over, and it kind of snapped into place. It actually wasn't too bad, but it wasn't ideal either. It was definitely harder than most, I have to say. And you know, typically with these kind of open mold wheels, there's always seems to be a problem with the size. It's never perfect. I can't explain why. It always seems like it's a tad bit too big. And so anyway, we're gonna get to that issue again, as you can see here. So yeah, before I do anything, let's go ahead and put a tube in there, because I'm gonna put this on my track bike. And I put a front brake on my track bike and my single speed handlebars on there, just so I can ride on the street and give you guys an idea on how this thing rides, if there's any creaking or anything sketchy like that. So let's go ahead and install this tube. I pause the video for this. This is nothing exciting happening here. But I guess we could see the struggles, because if you'll be buying one of these for like triathlon or the track, or maybe even a street or something like that, maybe you want to put it on your fixed gear bicycle so you could look cool in the city, you'll kind of know what you're getting yourself into here. Alright. So I mean, the bead is snapping in. There's nothing too strange. I've had honestly weirder happen. Yeah, it seems pretty good. Nothing too weird so far, I have to say. Just tight. It's just very tight, and that's kind of, you know, I don't know if this is the same for most carbon wheels, but definitely the open mold Chinese ones, they definitely have this issue. So I'm gonna go ahead and snap the bead in. It's gonna be pretty loud, but it'll be easier after I do this. Start on the end here. Yeah, it's not easy. There it goes. And yeah, see, I'm being really slow and nervous and cautious, you know, just because I don't want to mess up the carbon, of course. You should do the rest of my hand now. There we go. Okay, so that was it. That was it. So there you go. And you can see my valve. So this comes with a valve extender as well. And let me show you what it comes with, actually. I didn't show that in the video. So here is the slip. You can see this is all in Chinese. This is probably, you know, like when they make the request, they print this out and they give it to the tech or whatever to make it. But it was made on, or finished on January 23rd, 2021. That's when this thing was finished. You can see the specifications there. 4 by 50C, which I guess is 50C is the depth, and 4 is the spoke count, is my guess. I don't know. Quantity of 1, which is all I got. I don't know where this is manufactured, but I'll get this thing translated and find out exactly who made this, because I heard there's only a few houses that make these things. So anyway, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and pump this up, toss it on my track bike that I prepared for the street here, and let's see how it goes. Alright, so I put it on my track bike. The bike I'll be riding is a Look 464 ALP, production date around 2013, I believe. I've had it for a while now, but it's been a good bike to me. And I put a water ball cage because I'm going to start riding this in the street a little bit to test this wheel. And yeah, I didn't end up putting front brake because, well, I live in a spot where I really don't need it. I live on a strand with no people, no cars, nothing. I can do sprints all day and not have to run into anything, which is nice. Yeah, in terms of how the front wheel looks, well, I definitely don't have a matching rear wheel at the moment. I'm getting the hub rebuilt on that, so oh well, I have to use something like that for now. But in terms of how it looks, not the best look. I need to look like a gumball tire or something like that. I think the fact that it has no logos kind of throws it off a little bit. Maybe if it had like a 12K weave, it would look a little bit cooler, maybe? I don't know. It looks okay. Overall, in terms of looks, I give it like a 6 out of 10 on this bike, at least. In terms of how the hub mated perfectly, no weird spacing issues. You can see how the dishing is perfectly centered on the fork. Nothing weird going on. The track nuts, the flange on them is small enough to clear the little tang on your fork, so that's good. And yeah, so let's go for a ride and see how this thing feels. Alrighty, so what are my thoughts? Yeah, I'm riding around and it actually feels pretty good. You can kind of hear the noise. Let me speed it a little bit. It's a little bit of a whooshing noise, which isn't out of the ordinary. A little bit of wind here. I could kind of feel the wind in the front wheel, but nothing terrible. I did some sprints earlier and I didn't feel anything out of the ordinary, honestly. The wind didn't affect me a whole lot. It did a little, of course, like any other deep wheel, but yeah, it feels good. So let's go see my final thoughts. All right, what are my finishing thoughts on this eBay 4-spoke, 3-spoke, 5-spoke? So I did a little research, actually. It turns out these are, in fact, made by the same manufacturer, no matter who you get it from. It's called like Outdoor Carbon, I believe, or something like that in China, in the Xiamen region. And they make a lot of the same carbon fiber wheels for a lot of different manufacturers. In fact, I think this is pretty much a Super Team wheel. I don't see how it could be any different. Now, I think maybe the quality and finishing is where maybe there's a difference. But they do claim, you know, we make our own wheel, but no, they don't. They probably source it out from a different place, or they have a different manufacturing name that they go under, and their selling brand is like Super Team or Hulk or Princess Bike or whatever they call it, you know? That's what I think is going on here. In terms of first initial impressions for the price, if I were to rate it with 2 thumbs, 1 thumb would be up and 1 thumb would be like this. Now, the reason why I'm giving a side thumb is because I'm not too sure about the finish. The quality of the finish makes me concerned that, well, maybe the actual carbon layup might be, you know, questionable. Now, in terms of how it felt, there's no creaking, no weird imbalances in the wheel. Everything actually felt really good. It felt just like a specialized tri-spoke, actually. Or a head. It really didn't feel bad at all. It felt pretty good. The hubs felt good because the Novotech bearings and Novotech hubs are pretty good in my opinion. And yeah, overall, I thought it was pretty good. Now, for the value, would you get something like this? You know, it's a tough call. The reason why I say it's a tough call is because this hasn't gone through the paces of an actual Aero wheel. I haven't taken it on a velodrome where there's a lot of high G's in the bankings. But I will try to abuse this as much as I can. I have some spots where I can take it downhill and you know, hit some pretty decent bankings where it's going to take a lot of G's, and you can definitely feel it in your neck, you know. So we'll use that as a guide, and if it blows up there, then I die and you won't see another video. But I will be posting another update video on this. It will be a 2-month review, and yeah, you'll see kind of how this thing held up and how the bearings held up. I think the hub's gonna be fine. My main concern really with this wheel, honestly, is how they bond the carbon to the hub. That's it. That's all I'm really concerned about. Everything else seems pretty decent. The layup is perfect. I've seen no weird kind of issues with this carbon, like just on the surface. Now, most of the damage is usually underneath this top layer, of course, but we'll see. I'm just kind of praying that they used good resin and the curing process was good and there's no voids and the resin cured properly throughout the whole weave. That's all I really care about. And I really do think that it's possible. They do offer warranties on this, so if they do offer warranties, I guess they do guarantee their product. But yes, safety is the main concern, obviously. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and come back with you guys with another video, and stay tuned. Cool, thanks, and bye.